Zombie, Marin said, involuntarily. Gerard looked at her. Olive, she said, by way of explanation, and pointed. Olive was crossing the far end of the corridor with the gait of a man whose body had continued operating after the rest of him had stopped participating. His face was the color of old paper. His eyes were fixed on a middle distance that did not appear to contain anything encouraging. What happened to him? Gerard asked. I think the proposal failed. You think? He looked like that when I saw him, and I couldn't bring myself to ask. She watched Olive disappear around the corner. The answer was already written on his face. Gerard was quiet for a moment. Marin glanced at him sideways and found him frowning at the empty corridor with the expression he wore when he was thinking about something he did not intend to admit he was thinking about. Marin, he said, in the tone of a man approaching a subject from an oblique angle. Yes? When my assistant is indisposed, the volume of work I manage alone increases, which reduces the time available for other things. He paused. Other things being, specifically, time with you. She looked at him. He looked at the corridor. So it would be in my interest, he continued, with great care, for the situation to be resolved. You want me to talk to Cyrene? I want the situation resolved, he said, which meant yes. Marin smiled, because he was the most roundabout man alive when it came to admitting he was worried about someone, and she loved him very much. Leave it to me, she said. I'll go today. Please do. The forge was warm and loud when Marin arrived, and then it was just warm, because Cyrene had stopped hammering. Marin looked at the object on the anvil. It had, at some point, been a sword. It was not a sword anymore. It was a philosophical statement about swords, a flat, thoroughly defeated remnant that had clearly been hammered well past any structural opinion of its own. Cyrene, she said. Are you all right? Perfectly fine. Cyrene set the hammer down and laughed, a bright, effortful sound that did not reach her eyes. What would bother me? Nothing. Ha. Marin looked at the former sword and then at Cyrene and then set her basket on the workbench. I brought chocolate cake, she said. And wine. Cyrene looked at the basket. The effortful brightness left her face, replaced by something more honest. She pulled off her gloves and set them aside and came over, and looked at the contents of the basket with the focused attention of someone who had found the first straightforwardly good thing in a difficult few days. Then she looked up. Is there wine? Marin opened the basket wider. A bottle of wine. A bottle of grape juice. The chocolate cake, wrapped carefully. Cyrene smiled, a real one this time, small and tired and genuine. You're the best, she said, and meant it. The first bottle went quickly. Marin kept pace with grape juice and watched Cyrene's face, which was doing the thing it did when she was deciding how much to show, the slight control in the jaw, the way her eyes moved when she was thinking. She looked, Marin thought, like someone who was very tired of being careful and was considering the merits of stopping. Can I ask you something? Marin said, when the second bottle was open. About marriage. What you think of it, in general. Cyrene went still, just for a moment. What did Olive tell you? Olive is currently a walking ghost. He hasn't told me anything. Ah. She tilted her glass. Her violet eyes had gone cloudy, not with wine, not entirely. With something older than tonight. In general. I want to get married someday. I want children. A pause. About 5. Marin kept her face very still. Cyrene laughed, short and unhappy. I can see the question from here. Why did I say no, if that's what I want? I wasn't going to push, because he's a good person, Cyrene said. That's why. Marin opened her mouth. Closed it. I know how that sounds. Cyrene looked at her glass. You're thinking, if he's good, you should want to marry him more, not less. I thought the same thing, before. And then that woman walked up to our table and looked at us the way she did, and I understood something I'd been avoiding. Marin listened. He introduced me as his girlfriend without hesitating. Not a friend, he just said it, straight out, to a noble lady who clearly found the whole thing strange. And she looked at him, and she looked at me, and I could see exactly what it would look like for the rest of his life. Every dinner. Every event. Every interaction with people who matter for his career and his family. She set the glass down. He didn't care. That's what makes it impossible. He genuinely didn't care, and he would keep not caring, and people would keep looking at him the way she did, forever, because of me. Cyrene, he deserves someone who makes his life easier. Her voice was flat. Certain. The voice of someone who had made a decision and was done being talked out of it. Not harder. Someone better, Marin said quietly. That's what you mean. Cyrene didn't answer. She refilled her glass. Marin thought about what to say, and decided that tonight wasn't the night to say it. Instead, she lifted her bottle of grape juice and held it out. Cheers, she said. Cyrene looked at her for a moment and then, reluctantly, smiled. Cheers. Gerard found them an hour later. He stood in the doorway of the forge and surveyed the scene, Marin asleep against Cyrene's shoulder, Cyrene asleep against Marin, both of them propped against the workbench with the peaceful certainty of women who had solved nothing and felt better anyway. Empty bottles on the table. The ruined sword still on the anvil. He looked at this for a moment. Then he became aware of a presence at his back, a dark, gravitational quality, like weather that had decided to become a person. He turned. Olive was standing at the threshold. Not entering. Just standing, looking at Cyrene's sleeping face with an expression that had no pretense left in it whatsoever. She doesn't love me, Olive said. Gerard looked at him. What makes you think that? She said no. Those are not the same thing. He turned back to Marin and bent to lift her carefully, one arm under her knees, one at her back. She made a small sound and pressed her face against his chest. My pillow, she murmured, without waking. Yes, he said, to the top of her head. It's fine. He adjusted her weight and walked toward the door. Olive stepped aside to let him pass. Handle it, Gerard said, as he passed him. Olive stood in the doorway for a long time after the sound of footsteps had faded. The forge cooled around him. One of the candles guttered. He went inside. Found the blanket on the back hook of Cyrene's, the one she kept for nights when the work ran late, and unfolded it and draped it over her shoulders, carefully, so as not to wake her. Her cheek was flushed. Her lips were slightly parted. She was breathing slowly, with the complete relaxation of sleep, and she was so entirely herself in it, unguarded, unperforming, just Cyrene, that it was very difficult to look at her and feel anything other than what he felt. He crouched beside the workbench. I'll love you for the rest of my life, he said, very quietly, to her sleeping face. I want you to know that. Whatever you decide. He stood up. Put the candle out. Closed the door behind him without a sound. In the dark, against Cyrene's cheek, something moved. A tear. Just one. Marin noticed Olive getting thinner. It was gradual enough that someone not paying attention would have missed it, but Marin paid attention to people she cared about, and she cared about Olive, and she noticed the way his face was losing its usual warmth, the way his smiles arrived a half-second late and didn't stay as long. He was still performing his duties correctly. He was performing them the way a very good clock performs, accurately, and without any evident investment in the outcome. She found him in the east corridor one afternoon and fell into step beside him. Olive. My lady. The smile. Punctual. Brief. Are you eating? Sufficiently. He glanced at her, and something in her face must have told him that sufficiently was not going to be enough, because he exhaled and said, quietly, I'm sorry. I'll find a way forward. She said you were a very good person, Marin said. Olive stopped walking. She stopped with him. Waited. She said that, he said, slowly. She said that's why she said no. Marin looked at him steadily. She thinks you deserve someone who doesn't complicate your life. Someone from the right background, the right country, the right everything. She decided that for you. The expression on Olive's face moved through several things in rapid succession. Confusion. Comprehension. Something that was working itself up into genuine feeling. She wants to get married, Marin said. She told me so. She wants a family. She wants you, she just decided, on her own, without asking you, that wanting you was something she didn't have the right to do. That's Olive's jaw worked. His hands had closed at his sides. Why would she? I understood her, Marin said. I understand exactly what she was thinking, because I thought the same things, once. About whether someone like me deserved someone like Gerard. She looked at him. I was wrong. And so is she. Olive stood in the corridor, and the life came back into his face, not all at once, but visibly, like something resuming after a pause. His spine straightened. The quality of his stillness changed from defeated to thinking. I'll find a solution, he said. His voice had weight in it again. Marin nodded, and said nothing, and walked away feeling very strongly that a clock had just been wound.